Okay, welcome everybody to the 11th International Conference on the Built Environment 2021, hosted here in Canada at the University of Calgary by the School of Architecture, Planning and Landscape. This year's conference special theme is Building the Anthropocene. As a fully online conference, this event is recorded. If you're not presenting, as Tamsin already said, we would like to ask you to remain muted. And the recording will later be shared on the conference platform for people to revisit. My name is Fabian Newhouse. I am an associate professor at the University of Calgary. And together with David Montaigne, also an associate professor at the University of Calgary, we are the local hosts for this entirely online conference. So we want to welcome you from around the world, wherever you are currently located. Welcome to Calgary in a virtual format. Just briefly about the opening program. Unfortunately, one of the speakers, due to technical problems, is not able to join us in this session. Gilbert Crowchild from the Tsuut'ina Nation, an elder, is unable to connect. So hopefully we can solve the technical issues during this session. Otherwise, we'll hopefully be able to record something and share that with you. We'll try and sort it out for the closing ceremony of the conference, hopefully on Friday. We'll see how it goes. Anyhow, just briefly about the program for this opening session, we have still 2 more speakers. The Dean, John Brown, is here, the Dean of the School of Architecture, Planning and Landscape, for a welcome, and then also Philip Kalantzis-Cope, the Chief Scientist at CG Research Networks, will have some opening words too. So thank you all for joining. I see we have quite a few people joining from international connections, project partners and friends. Awesome, welcome. With this theme, the Anthropocene and the connection to the constructed environment in general, but also the connection to the land from our Canadian perspective, we would like to acknowledge the traditional territories, and also that's why it was so important for us to invite a local Indigenous elder, which now unfortunately has fallen through, but we'll revisit this. But it's important in many ways, mainly also because Indigenous peoples have lived in this land here in North America for thousands of years, and their intimate knowledge learned from the land is a parallel narrative to what the Anthropocene is describing. A transformation in the environment through the human impact, especially in the form of the constructed environment, obviously. So we want to sort of build that into the discussion as well. We have a speaker tomorrow, Leroy from the Blackfoot Nation here in southern Alberta. Who will also speak from that on that perspective and that connection. So with this, I will hand it over to the Dean John Brown for a territorial acknowledgement, and to welcome you. John Brown is the Dean of the School of Architecture, Planning and Landscape here at the University of Calgary. He runs a successful architectural practice here in Calgary, and he's currently also the president of the Royal Architectural Institute of Canada. So over to you, John.
Thank you, Fabian, and welcome everybody. We gather today at the School of Architecture, Planning and Landscape with a common commitment to caring for the natural and built environments and the creative practice of making for human dwelling. And as such, we pay tribute to the Indigenous peoples who have provided extraordinary stewardship of this land for many thousands of years. And we acknowledge their deep connection to and reverence for the land and ecosystems therein. In the School of Architecture, Planning, and Landscape, we also believe that the words we use to name the world around us are significant and meaningful. And to that end, we make note that we are situated on land adjacent to where the Bow River meets the Elbow River, and that the traditional Blackfoot name of this place is Mohkinstsis, which we now call the city of Calgary. We acknowledge and pay tribute to the traditional territories of the people of Treaty 7, which includes the Blackfoot Confederacy, comprising the Siksika, the Pigune, and Kainai First Nations, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nation and the Stoney Nakoda, including the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Wesley First Nations. The city of Calgary is also home to Métis Nation of Alberta III. By the signing of Treaty 7 in 1877, the university recognizes that we are all treaty people. I know that we are gathering together from all parts of the world today, and I would ask you all to take a few moments to reflect on the Indigenous nations on the land who have inhabited the lands on which you reside. Before we proceed any further, I also want to remember one of our conference presenters who was tragically killed last week in a bear attack outside of Calgary. Dr. David Lertzman was Assistant Professor of Environmental Management and Sustainable Development at the Haskayne School of Business here at the University of Calgary. Lertzman was particularly recognized for his work with Indigenous peoples for over the past 20 years and his efforts to bridge traditional ecological knowledge and Western science in sustainable development. He was a great mentor to many students, including at the School of Architecture, Planning, and Landscape. His co-presenter at the conference was one of these students, and Christine Daly has recorded their presentation for today's session, and it looks at intercultural strategies for the reclamation of mine landscapes. We hope that this can be a first step in the continuation of Dr. Lertzman's research and practice. It's a great loss for the University of Calgary. So, welcome to you, Calgary, and the School of Architecture, Planning, and Landscape. I'm really sorry that we can't be doing this in person. Spring comes late to Calgary because of our elevation and proximity to the Rocky Mountain. The buds are just beginning to burst on the trees, and there's a few tentative spring flowers trying to emerge from the recently thawed ground. If we were together this morning, we would be gathered in our city building design lab, located in the former Central Library across from City Hall and in the heart of downtown. And over lunch, we could enjoy a slightly bracing, still spring, walk in the sunshine along our new riverfront and into the East Village, a vibrant new neighborhood built in a neglected part of downtown. We could visit our new award-winning library by Snoetta Architects, walk past the new National Music Center and the almost completed platform building, which is the future home for Calgary's Technology Incubation Center that's been very innovatively integrated into a new multi-story parking garage that is also built to allow for future conversion into housing. But as you may have heard, Calgary and our downtown is also struggling. The, and I would say fortunate collapse of the oil and gas industry in 2015 is fundamentally restructuring our economy and our city. For the past 50 years, Calgary has seen unprecedented growth, from a population of 132,000 in 1950 to 568,000 in 1980, and to a population today of 1.58 million. The city, our design professional community, and the construction industry basically spent the last 70 years struggling just to keep up the supply of offices, houses, and roads and infrastructure required to accommodate this unprecedented increase. Unfortunately, in this kind of situation, intentionality played second fiddle to expediency. And I think it's very, very appropriate that we are hosting the conference on the Anthropocene today. Since 2015, we've seen a 30% office vacancy rate and a corresponding devastation to other parts of the economy. We've always been a boom and bust town, but it has taken until just recently for the citizens of Calgary, and particularly the movers and shakers in our business community, to realize that this time it's different and that we are not going to go back to business as usual, because the nature of the oil and gas industry is thankfully starting to shift. Slowly, Calgary is coming to the realization that growth and prosperity is not a given, and in fact can be unlinked. And that, like most other places, we have to work hard to make a vibrant and healthy city that is also resilient and sustainable and equitable. As things have slowed down, we can now be more intentional and thoughtful in our city building. With precedents like Nashville, Pittsburgh, and Denver before us, we are going through a period of existential crisis that will result in an amazing transformation of our city and create something that is more fit for the challenges and opportunities of the 21st century, mindful, of course, of the broader implications of the Anthropocene. The University of Calgary is playing an important role in that transformation. City building was recently identified as one of the university's 4 key areas of focus, alongside health, energy, and advanced digital technologies, which we were really excited about, and I think speaks to the progressive nature of our university. And there's a growth plan over the next decade within the university to enhance capacity and international research leadership in city building, not just within our school or in engineering and in business, the conventional one, but across the university, in the liberal arts, who are looking critically at at these questions. Obviously, the School of Architecture, Planning and Landscape is at the forefront of this initiative, and our City Building Design Lab is the front door to bring the expertise resident on our suburban campus into the downtown community. We're collaborating on projects with social work, business, engineering, public health, public policy, and even veterinary medicine through their One Health initiative on applied city building research. In the past 3 years, we've also initiated 26 new SAPL-based research collaborations, SAPL being the School of Architecture, Planning and Landscape, with the City of Calgary and key industry stakeholders and community groups. Our goal is to leverage the expertise of our scholars and the energy of our students with projects that assist the city and industry with visualization, experimentation, evaluation, and some sober second thoughts about the new initiatives that are being proposed for downtown and beyond. In fact, 2 weeks ago, City Council approved a $200 million investment strategy for downtown that includes repurposing 6 million square feet of empty office space and rejuvenating the public realm with socially equitable amenities. We are very proud that our school is a key partner in many aspects of the implementation of this strategy, and we believe that embedding our school in the life of the city and the processes by which it is being reimagined is a rich opportunity for our researchers and our students to work in a living lab situation that initiates, or at least begins to contemplate, the initiation of real-world change. In closing, if we were here together in Calgary this morning, I would invite you all back in 5 years to perhaps do some late spring skiing in Banff and to see the fruits of this extraordinary opportunity that we have to collaborate with our city to build a better future. Fortunately, I can also do that on Zoom as well. So please come back in person next time, hopefully without the need for masks. And our school will be happy to show you around the emerging Calgary 2.0. Enjoy the conference. Back to you, Fabian.
Thank you so much, John, for this introduction, both to the school and the city. Awesome. Yes, you're all very welcome to visit once things are changing. At the moment, like myself, we're all sort of in the basement. I spent my past 12 months teaching and researching from my basement suite. Awesome. But it's enjoyable. I have 2 little chicks here who are filling my day with beats. Anyhow, let's move on to the next one, and closer to also to the theme of the conference. It's interesting because the Anthropocene is not really a smooth concept, and certainly not unchallenged. Some of the criticism revolves around the duality of accepting both the impact of our actions. Our actions have had and are still having on the planet, and on the other hand, also the concept appears to sort of justify corrective measures on a similar scale with potentially even more impact. So this duality is quite an interesting sort of concept. I think that we could spend the next 2 days or 3 days discussing. For example, manipulating the weather, shielding the planet from sun rays through particles in the atmosphere, things like that. It's quite expansive of what this concept actually also includes and discusses. So it'll be interesting to also continue this discussion and hear from all of you what your perspective is on this. So with these thoughts, I would like to pass it on to Philip for his remarks. I will also introduce him. But he often does not get introduced in these sessions because he's the main host usually. So you might enjoy this now. So anyhow, so this is very different, but there we go. I had the pleasure to work with Phil in a separate project just recently on online teaching and learning during the pandemic. And we go to work quite closely on some material, and that was a tremendous pleasure. So currently, Phil is the chief social scientist of Common Ground, the original conference host. He situates himself as in a recursive dialogue between the grammars of the media history, visual art practices, and the possibility of intervention that can be found in publishing. His research stems from the traditions of critical theory and cultural studies. Over to you, Phil.
Hi, how you going? Yes, I am definitely not used to introductions. I don't like introductions in a way. Just to fit in with the crowd is where I'm trying to be. But I'd like to just begin by thanking Dean Brown for such a wonderful opening. One of the things that we lose with not being there in person and on site is all those tangential conversations as you walk down a lane, as you have a cup of coffee with someone who you just met, to understand the stories of a place that go back thousands of years and issues that confront us today. And so to give that wonderful framing of Calgary, both in an optimistic sense of a place that it wants to be, and also in a real kind of honest sense of the ways that it still has work to go. These are the kinds of reasons that we bring these conferences to different places. We consider them as kind of case study intervention. So, to give us a taste of what we would have seen in person was a really wonderful thing. I also hope that we can hold you to some of these ideas and 5-year plan kind of transformations, because one of the exciting things that happened this year is Fabian has come on board as the Research Network Chair. We've been working together in many different ways for some time, so I'm really happy for us to formalize these conversations in this way. Is the perfect combination of thinking about architecture, the built environment, urban planning, but also teaching and pedagogy. And these two conversations this year came together in how we were going to deliver this online conference. And so we, as soon as the pandemic hit, we went back to the drawing board and we designed an online conference infrastructure, not as a temporary shelter, but as something that we could use and productively find ways to involve and get more people involved in the conversation. So you guys are our early adopters, our beta testers. Well, it's beyond that. I don't want to panic everybody, but our approach, our kind of principle that lived through this experience, but we think it is a common feature for what kinds of people can and want to and need to participate in online conferences. We've seen ours as a kind of information resource where everybody uploads their digital content. The content engagement outside the plenary speakers is asynchronous, meaning that there is no pressure on a particular time zone. And also, people have jobs, people have kids, a whole range of things that make life complicated now, but complicated in general. And so we wanted to make sure that people had the best time and the clearest time to prepare, upload their content, discussion boards that can happen over time, but also it's a resource you can go back to. So in a way, the conference doesn't end. You can go back to the content, you can, engage with presenters, view again, download, etc. So this is the kind of approach that we've taken, and I really thank Fabian for being part of the strategic conversation about what we do. I would also like to thank David and the rest of the team that went behind the scenes to make this conference happen. We really did try to the last second, apart from calling Canadian Customs to see how we could get in. We did really try every option possible. And with Fabian as the Research Network Chair, I'm hoping we will come back and have a lived experience. So I think that's it for my welcome and introduction. Oh, the other thing, which is in person that I always forget to thank as well, is the Common Ground Research Network team as well. Tamsin has done a fabulous job, and Elizabeth as well. Poor Elizabeth came on as a conference producer just as the pandemic hit, and so she's never been to a real conference of ours. So yes, but thank you for all the work. And I'd really like to thank everybody who has uploaded content, has participated. It's a great effort, and I really want to thank you for being a participant. I'd also like to recognize, and I'm sorry with these screens, our advisory board members. I can see Mark Blizzard there, he's waving. Hi, Mark, it's great to see you. I'm going to go through the next screen, see if there's anyone else that I missed. No, so thank you all for being here, and I will now pass it back to Fabian. Thanks, Fabian.
Awesome, thank you so much, Phil. Okay, so with this, I would like to just talk a little bit more about the special theme, and then also a little bit about the program of the entire conference and the sort of the sort of structure and the online opportunities that we want to create throughout these next 3 days. Just briefly revisiting Gilbert Crowchild, who was not able to join us this morning, because I think it also it sort of situates the way we work at SAPO currently with the land in a broader context. Gilbert Crowchild is an elder from the Tsuut'ina Nation, one of the 3 T7 nations here in Western Canada, and it's a direct neighbor to the city of Calgary. So the nation reserve land borders the city of Calgary's reserve land, and that comes with a lot of opportunities, but also with a lot with many challenges. And with SAPO, we had over the past few years, we had many great opportunities to collaborate with the nation on projects. Currently, the nation is actually undertaking the largest development project on First Nation land in the whole of North America. And that is part of the current ring road construction of Calgary. Calgary has built, is about to complete next year or the year after next or the year after next, whatever, about to complete the ring road, a massive big highway infrastructure project that on the western border of the city crosses through the nation land. And there were decades of negotiations about that transition of land and exchange over that, but it has now been agreed upon, and it actually has been built. It has been opened late last year. And with this construction project came this opportunity for the nation to invest in a large-scale development project for both housing, but mainly commercial spaces and retail and industry, light industry, but also workplaces. So there's a massive project going on the western border of the city, with lots of opportunities and also challenges. And in that context, from the school side with our students, we have had the opportunity to work on several projects, and this continues. So this is a very interesting relationship, and we're learning every day about how we can build this relationship, but we're learning lots and lots from the wisdom and knowledge of the Tsuut'ina, and that's an amazing exchange. Also, you know, in terms of making headway with the with the reconciliation here in Canada in general, but specifically here in the Treaty 7 region. We have a great Indigenous strategy at the University of Calgary that sort of provides a framework for us to work and to build these relationships and develop our sort of approach to reconciliation and our actions. So this is still, you know, even after a couple of years, this is in its infancy, but I think we're making progress here. But that's sort of the broader context. We'll see whether we can maybe also try and fit Gilbert in later today, maybe at the beginning of our plenary session at 5 tonight. Maybe we can solve the technical problems also there. Okay, so maybe back to the special theme of the conference, building the Anthropocene. I'll just briefly would like to revisit this. It is, as I said before, still an intensely debated scientific concept, and the discourse over the past several years has highlighted the shift in how we as humans conceptualize our relationship to our environment. At its core, the concept acknowledges the planet as a sort of a complete system in which we all play a role. The term further highlights the idea that humans, as in anthropos, the Greek word for human, have altered Earth's functioning over the past century or two. That's still, you know, being debated on how long that is, but it sort of fits in with some of the technological developments. Obviously, the built environment plays a crucial role in this construct. Our settlements and cities sit at the core of a very sophisticated arrangement of resources. And the design of buildings and these artifacts drive the global spanning machinery of resource extraction and exchange. So how have architecture and city building become a force of nature? Essentially, could be one of the resulting questions from that setup. So in a brief sort of comparison, like the cosmic calendar, as popularized by Carl Sagan, represents the history of the cosmos in a single year. It's one of those famous sort of diagrams, squeezing the millennia into a single year. And after the Big Bang on January 1st, the solar system appears only on September 2nd. So 9 months in, essentially. Our atmosphere filled with oxygen around October, the end of October, and flowers appeared at the end of December. And humans only appeared on the last day of the year, around 2 p.m. So 355 days in. Settlements were developed about 5 minutes to midnight, and together with symbolic markings and trade. And agriculture developed about half a minute before midnight. Just to sort of put all these developments in perspective. On that scale, humans have begun impacting the global environment only in the last few seconds of the year, really. But now we're capturing this dramatic impact on all of the rest of the year that the humans have in this term, the Anthropocene. Putting the human activity and practice into perspective is part, obviously, of this Anthropocene concept. And the scientific data tells us about the impact of our resource consumption. How we reflect on this is however, an open discussion, and we want to explore that through the discussions in this conference. How the construction of space and place and the environment sort of represents the footprint of the human race. So with this, I think we would like to then also go into the program of the conference. However, I would also like to share a thought that actually came up in a discussion that I had with Shauna Cunningham. She's the director of the Indigenous strategy at the university, and at the outset of planning this conference, and we were in a close exchange about how we can build Indigenous participation into this conference, and also obviously discuss that concept. And she should have wrote to me, and I read from her email here. She's saying the Anthropocene is counterintuitive to Indigenous worldviews on the interconnectedness of humans, land, and nature. And she says she's wondering if some contribution could be made from a more comparative platform, exploring the different worldviews concerning both the Anthropocene and the Symbiocene, which is kind of a parallel concept that has been proposed, but through a lens of sustainability. So over the next few days, we'll work on this and see how that goes. Okay, so now over to some housekeeping and the program. So the live sessions will be recorded, as I said already, and then shared on the conference platform, so people in different time zones can revisit this. Everything's fully online. All the content is accessible from your personalized online portal that Phil has talked about through the program page. You can access all the paper sessions, all the individual presentations, as well as the plenary sessions and the talking circles. So the synchronous sessions are also listed there at the start and end of the program each day, and those are the live sessions, like this opening session here. And then the plenary sessions are live, and the talking circles. The rest of the daily program are the paper sessions. They are asynchronous and pre-recorded, and you can watch them in your own time. The synchronous live sessions are, as I said, recorded, and so to accommodate the different time zones. We have one in the morning and one in the evening, usually a live event. So that sort of tries to cater a little bit towards the Western Hemisphere in the morning, and towards the Eastern Hemisphere in the morning, and the Western Hemisphere in the evening, to be able to participate in live sessions. The program has in your portal on the conference website, you will also find a help section and tutorials if you need technical support, or you can reach out to either Tamsin or Elizabeth for guidance on this. Just a heads up on the plenary sessions. So later today at 5 p.m. local time, we have a plenary session with Elliot Treacher. His title is The Petro City. Elliot is a professor here at the University of Calgary, and he works extensively with both the city and resource extraction, also with the Alberta oil fields further up north, and resource extraction throughout the province, and with a specific perspective on the relationship between the city and the land. And then tomorrow, Thursday morning, 9 a.m. local time, we want to start with the plenary session, and we will welcome Leroy Littlebear. He is from the Blackfoot Confederacy here in southern Alberta. He is used to be a professor at the University of Lethbridge, just an hour or so south of Calgary. His talk is titled, "And Then the Homo Sapiens Came on the Scene." And there will be also time for a discussion after that presentation. And then we have a talking circle in the evening, I believe. On Friday morning, 9 a.m. local time, we have a presentation, plenary session with Kelly Coles from CMLC. Here in Calgary, and who's the CMLC is involved in many of the projects that were mentioned by John Brown earlier in his remarks. It's sort of a vessel for public-private partnerships project here in Calgary, CMLC that is. Kelly Cole is the director with CMLC, and she will talk about building Calgary's culture and entertainment district, a catalyst for recovery, optimism, and pride in an evolving city. That's her title for the talk. And then has been a change in program yesterday. We will conclude the conference on Friday at noon local time, so a little bit earlier. We have moved the synchronous session forward a little bit. You'll find the change in your online program, so that everybody can actually participate with conference remarks by several speakers again. And then there we also want, and that's specifically important, we want to present the special awards for the Emerging Scholars 2021. Were sort of a key moment, obviously, of the conference. We already want to thank the recipients in advance, because they're also involved in helping run the conference to some extent this year. That is, for me, the actual highlight of the conference, really. I'm looking forward to that. So there will also be some remarks of the conference hosts for next year, 2022, at the closing, but also even the year after, so 2023. So we have invited both hosts for the upcoming two conferences, so that's conference number 12 and 13, to make some remarks and welcome all of you to these upcoming events there. While all of this is online, we have coverage and discussion space on social media too. So you can join the conversation there, both on Twitter, Instagram, and wherever you are at home in social media terms. We're using the hashtag ICTCE21. So there we can also continue the discussion there. And the other platform that we're using for an ongoing discussion portal throughout the 3 days of the conference is the Wonder online space. You will all find the link to the Wonder online space in your program, and that is going to be used for the talking circles. So just after this session, we will all move over to the Wonder platform so that everybody can actually talk and share, and we can have a plenary conversation really. But the platform, the Wonder portal, will be open throughout the conference. So you're very welcome to come back to that Wonder space at any time, see who's hanging out, see who's there, and strike up a conversation. So it's a little bit like a digital sort of foyer of the conference, where you would grab your coffee and your cookie and some fruit, whatever, you know, you usually used to be there in in-person conferences. Unfortunately, this time you have to grab it from your kitchen counter before you go into the Wonder space, but no, even so, you know, you can bring along your coffee. So you can really visit that page frequently, or you know, you can even arrange with somebody to meet there and chat there. Maybe somebody else will join in. We'll see how that goes. So you will have a very good idea of what Wonder can do after our talking circle that will start just after this session. So for now, it's just for me to thank everybody who's here, but also thank the University of Calgary for hosting, and the School of Architecture, Planning and Landscape for organizing. Besides David and myself, a number of staff were involved in making all of this happen. Thank you, Jess, Vita, Nicola, Lorena, and others. Some of them are here. Yeah. Thank you so much for the support throughout. I want to thank Phil and his team, CG Research Networks, for Phil, Elizabeth, Tamsin, and others in the background for their work on the conference. And they have really done the heavy lifting here for organizing all of this, and they've guided us sort of local hosts through the process, which was really amazing. Thank you so much. And also some thanks, as I said before, to the emerging scholars who will help facilitate some of the talking circle sessions and other things, but also some of the sponsors, some partners, Next Calgary here, and the Richard Parker Initiative for the local support. Okay, so we're ending this a little early, but that's okay. So with this, we want to sort of move over to our first talking circle for the plenum discussion, and to give everybody in attendance an opportunity to exchange a little bit before we launch into the asynchronous paper sessions for the day. So this is really an opportunity for everybody to share a little bit about their research interests, their subject areas, where they're currently located, so we can have sort of a global conversation about things. This is really an opportunity for all the delegates to hear and see who's here, and maybe strike up some conversation or meet again later in the Wonder space digitally. Yeah, so with this, we'll start the Wonder session at 10:15 according to the program. So there's 20 minutes break now, a little bit longer, but this will be a 45-minute synchronous session again, where everybody can participate. So individually, go and make yourself a coffee, grab a snack from your own kitchen, and we'll see each other there. Unless there is something that I forgot.